And I guess we're live. I tried to do the intro, but it wouldn't click it over. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the Be My Own Boss podcast, episode 12. And for those of you that have been following the past few weeks, I'll put it up here on the screen. Part 4 of 6 of a 6-part series that we are currently doing. Mike and I, called the Boston Massacre 2024. Part 4 of 6, Career Theft Ahead. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for the introduction. You're right on.
I was missing our intro there, so I don't know why I wasn't clicking over, but StreamYard issue, technical difficulty solved already. So
excellent.
Where are we so far? I know that for those of you that might have missed it, Mike and I put the first 3 parts together on the Be My Own Boss podcast, on the Be My Own Boss YouTube podcast page, and put all 3 parts together so you guys can play a little catch up there if you had missed any of these. But now we move on to 4, and then obviously we come into the home stretch here. But this is a big one, I think, this Career Theft Ahead. And so, Mike, where do you want to start with this one?
Well, let's start with the subhead. The subhead was damage from all directions, and boy, that is really true. The battle is the battle is between our adversaries and what I'll call the triad, which is the independent contractors, the platforms, and the clients. They have been working together beautifully, and it's that which has created this whole gig economy. They work together. And the independent contractors are self-employers. It's important to remember at every moment they are their own boss. They want responsibility, for their income, their time, control of their career, family care. They want to own their work. The platforms are doing a actually magnificent job connecting, people who want something done with people who want to do it. And it's the best workforce innovation, but workplace innovation since the 1860s. So those don't come along very often. And third, you've got a massive amount of clients, both individuals and businesses. And as we can see, particularly in rideshare and food delivery, people want more and better services. All kinds of things you never imagined 10 years ago, you can now get delivered or undertaken or done. And the businesses want to do much better management. They want to improve with project management, and it's taking over all of business, major sectors first. So into that relatively happy, highly productive grouping, Massachusetts has plopped its ABC labor law. And this is something it's been 20 years in the making. And the other side got a bonanza 2 months ago when the Attorney General came down, penalized Uber and Lyft for, turning in the state's mind, calling them independent when they weren't. Well, we all know they are. So it's an imaginary crime that was committed. So what's happening is that this is having a giant slow motion splash all across the country. Everyone says, well, it's Massachusetts, and how many people is that? Well, in fact, we're the home of that legislation, and we know a lot about it here. It's the most destructive, the most devious, and the most harshly enforced I think law of any type in the nation. Nothing is more harshly enforced than this. And look at this fine as an example. Mm-hmm. So probably everybody here knows that the first thing this is going to do, this settlement, with all the fines that Uber and Lyft have to pay, and the benefits that the drivers and the apps are going to have to pay, the first thing that's going to happen is going to terrify clients across the country. Anyone who uses a Massachusetts independent contractor, including Uber and Lyft, are going to think, wow, this is a difficult law. It's completely ambiguous. I will bet in private that the Uber had no idea they were vulnerable to the extent that they were. I think they had talk about shock and awe and desperation. I think that was there for probably they first heard about this when they got a letter from the Attorney General saying, we're going to hit you for $700 million, come talk. So the clients go through fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the first thing they do is they get terrified. And you don't have to be a lawyer. You can just look at this law as a business would. What's the first thing you see is like, oh my goodness, that's a fine. That fine is beyond belief. So they're afraid of it, and they try to go to the legislation to say, well, if I'm buying, medical specialists work for medical instrument design, for example, a big field in Massachusetts, am I vulnerable if I'm in Texas buying this? The answer is yes. So this is going to have a big footprint, and then they're going to read it. It's 90 words long, and they're going to go, I have no way to assure that we're not violating it. There's not one thing I can do to be in compliance. As I think we joked one of the last sessions, this is like a bunch of speed limit signs that says slow, really slow, medium slow, and not too fast, but a little better. It's like, what speed is that?
Mm-hmm.
So clients are going to pull back. And when they pull back, the IC work is going to shrink. It has to be, because these are equals. Everything bought equals everything sold. And the work's going to shrink for the ICs themselves. Their costs are going to explode because they're going to have to try to find work where they are. If they're in an ABC regulated state, they're going to have to go, I can't sell to Massachusetts, so where am I going to get this? And I can tell you from personal experience, just selling regular consulting services before the apps were even invented, it's really expensive and time consuming to go find people who want what you can do. It's a huge country. It's 3,000 miles by 1,500 miles. And it's expensive to get around and tell them, yeah, buy it from Mike Hruby, like, holy smoke. And so the market for freelance is going to shrink. Market for driving, right, it's going to shrink. And that brings up the third part, is that you're going to see it, and you saw it in the Olympics. I want to talk to the audience about that. In the Olympics, the Uber advertised how many benefits it was bringing to the drivers who would be working with it. And I thought, regulatory capture. And they're bragging about this to the public and to maybe future drivers, and maybe a little feel good to clients. But in fact, they were captured. Uber's labor force in Massachusetts was captured by the state of Massachusetts, and indefinitely, forever. And so the apps in general are the little ones will fail, especially in Massachusetts. The medium-sized ones will shrink or withdraw or do something different or find some wrinkle. And the big ones like Uber and Lyft, they're going to be heavily regulated, and it's going to creep up. Just like, there was likely some side deal that we need you guys to promote benefits here online. And if they didn't actually tell them, Uber and Lyft are smart enough to figure it out. So,
I still gotta say that I'm not 100% sold. Uber and Lyft don't have another plan, another agenda here where they're not going to play ball. I'm still thinking that, especially with the way this AG is.
I couldn't agree with you more, but I don't know what it is other than driverless.
Well, if she allows that if she allows that ballot, whatever you guys call it in your state, I know that every state's a little different. Right. But if she allows that ballot question after all the other drama that they went through for years, that's not going to fly with Uber and Lyft because the deal was created on that not existing.
Yes, I know.
So therefore, why would they have a deal come January if she allows that? Because if she allows that, she even has to realize that's game on.
But it's not in the agreement.
But wouldn't the agreement just go out the window because they'll say, yeah, the agreement was you don't do this.
Well, that was the only thing that's stipulated in the agreement is that Uber and Lyft will drop their 5 ballot questions. So
right, but one of the terms for Uber and Lyft is no worker collective bargaining, or no, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So therefore, if she allows that, she's actually saying, go ahead, let's bargain. Let's collectively bargain. No, that goes against everything you agreed with them.
Yeah. Well, but it's not in the agreement. So anyway, I will go back and look at that, and our audience is welcome to do the same.
I mean, I hear you because the road it's going is not pretty, but I just have a feeling that Uber, like you were saying about Uber running those ads, they like, even if that's not the direction they want the company to go, they always take advantage of those moments.
Right.
They always say, okay, well then let's play that out. But I also feel like in the back of their head, they've got another game going. They're already running the next strategy of this lady's crazy.
Yep. I agree.
And
let me tell you,
they do all right to go, you know what? We just decided to not be here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, tell Andrea,
Yeah, because Uber has a way of making that footprint. I mean, California knows it. I mean, last week, Prop 22 got solidified for good. We know that, I mean, that's finally over. 4 years of drama with that. But I mean, like, at the same time, when they threatened they would leave, the state believed them. I believed them. And they actually folded to that and said, okay, well, we can't have you leave. That'll disrupt transit. Well, I would think that also applies to Massachusetts. I don't know.
In a different way. There's a gritty kind of formerly down at the heels town on the Merrimack River in northeastern Massachusetts called Haverhill. And it's got enormous old mills from the 1800s, and many of them have been torn down. Many of them have been repurposed. Population is high. It's very dense, and the household incomes have been remade because of the driving apps. And the opportunity is there for people if they have a car and they want to work. The opportunity is there. They become delivery drivers and Uber drivers and do other kinds of service contract work. And the inside scuttlebutt is that this has had a huge improving effect. This being driving on the apps has had a big effect on those inner city household incomes. So that's going to go away specifically. Mm-hmm. And if you unionize it, the cost will go up. Anyway, that whole scenario. So another thing, another way you're going to see this, and you saw it partly with the advertising, it makes it possible and likely that government, the apps, the unions, and the media will collude to continue to exert power over Uber and Lyft, and to make it more and more difficult for individuals to work as independent contractors. And everybody's in on it because the teachers' unions, very powerful in this state, they don't want independent contractors doing substitute teaching. They want unionized. They want them to get paid no matter whether they're working or not, and that's just overhead, and it's more union memberships. Mm-hmm. So, look for the evidence of collusion, like that Olympic ad. And by the way, if anybody here wants to just do a little project on the quiet, we would love you to go over some of the Olympic tapes, particularly from the first night, the videos, and see if you can find and copy that Uber ad. We can make make that a point of discussion, just to show how this is working. I didn't see it myself. I got it from a very reliable source that it was there. So if you get a chance and can take a copy, we'd love to see it.
Was it regional though? Was that because I've been real spotty with my Olympic watching, but was it regional to Massachusetts or was that
we couldn't tell?
Okay.
We couldn't tell.
I mean, via YouTube and the internet, I'm sure we can find the commercial.
Right. So the next thing is that small business, of which we have 6 million in this country, are going to lose their problem-solving capability. Any small business will turn to an independent contractor to get themselves out of a jam, to find a solution, to improve a design, to handle a bottleneck. There are just any kind of emergency or difficulty. They'll get some expert to come in and solve it for them, and that's perfectly good, economically sound. Nothing wrong, but that'll slow their growth, and their choice of vendors much of it's going to disappear because they need to be able to get at someone and how to reach them if they're in Louisiana and want someone in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see a lot of harm to families. This is going to be very personal. People are going to see that I'm choosing between working and caring for my family member or my relative. And how can I do this if I have to spend all my time prospecting for work, for trying to find a second or a third job? I can't balance all those priorities. So
I'm also interested to see how they're going to balance the part-time workers versus the full-time workers.
Yes,
this becomes a whole nother nightmare problem that we've seen play out a few times. I mean, you can't have everything your way when 85% of the workers are part-time. And by part-time, I mean 17 hours or less a week.
Wow.
And then 65% of them are 7 hours or less a week. So, I mean, you've got 7 barely even registers on my gauge.
Right.
If you got 65% of the gig economy is working 7 hours or less on the gig apps, they're extreme. I don't even know if I'd call them part-time. Well, they're part-time.
But they do make a difference because
they do.
And they're earning money off it. And if you can make $25-$30 an hour for 6 hours a week, that's a big help. If you're already working, your spouse is already working, big improvement.
I couldn't agree more. And those of us who have been in the gig economy know that it's like being in the service industry. It is being in the service industry, and it ebbs and flows. So even though all the Fridays might be great, one Friday might suck, and you just kind of roll with that and go again for the next Friday. But this is going to take that drive away, because if you're doing things on active time and this, that, and the other, the companies don't want to pay that. So you might get onto a platform and say, I only work 7 hours on Friday. Well, even if it's a good or bad Friday, you have the advantage of being able to take or reject or this or that. Right. Now with these new bottoms and tops and the way that it's going to play out, you're not going to have that. So those extreme part-timers are not going to do this anymore.
Right.
That's my opinion. If I've done this long enough to know that if I had a W-2 and then I relied on a little extra income on Fridays that I picked myself, hand-picked, cherry picking the orders, whichever ones I want. But now that's going to be somewhat restricted because everybody's playing on a different game now. And so if you're going to work those same hours and make 2/3 of the money, I guarantee you those people quit.
I do too. Anything small gets squeezed out as you get more regulation and as costs go up. Either one, but this is both at the same time.
Right.
So it means it's a lot of harm. I think we're going to see startups decline. They have been declining steadily since 2002. They're the lifeblood of our future companies. But
yet the independent contractors keep growing. Like we're over 70 million now, or at least close to. I mean, I know that's
there are fewer small businesses. Look at.
I'm just saying workers, though. I'm talking about out of the 100 or the 200 or 178 million working people, there's 70 million of them at least participate in the
right
independent contractorship of some sorts.
Right.
So how does that stay up there too?
Well, that won't. Those people are coming out of all the small ones are coming out of the going to come out of the workforce if they themselves individually can't make it work. I mean,
So do you really think that they pivot over though and like fill these holes that they think that they're gonna and become all W-2s?
no, not a chance.
Right. So what?
First of all, anybody who comes from Uber now it's going to have a tag on his forehead. Basically, it says, "I used to make $32.50 an hour," and they can't see it, but the employer goes, "Oh man, this guy was with Uber, and he's not there anymore." And do I can't even come close to $32.50. I might see 25, but they're thinking, and they've got to be thinking, this guy's going to be unhappy with whatever I pay him at 31 and down. And so I think I'll go to the next guy, maybe get someone who's just starting out. You never know how they want to solve it, but they're going to find that $32.50 is not a help. It's a hindrance. So
it's not even a real number, you guys. I mean, again, let's keep make sure we pound it in there that this is active time. And those of us who work the apps know what that means. I mean, active time, 1 hour of active time could take you 3 hours. So it's like your $32.50 just became $10 or almost, not even $11 an hour.
Minus your fringes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, at that point, you're just, and who are you pulling the wool over their eyes? Because to me, the only people that are buying into this are the newbies, and they learn real quick.
Yes.
So I mean, you can't. I know everybody's always said that. Well, they can just onboard forever. They can't, because at some point they've run through the people willing to do this work.
Yes.
I know that everybody seems to think, well, those holes can be filled. Well, yeah, maybe under like employment models you can fill holes, but I don't think you can in this setting.
No one's shown it's going to be, it can be done. It wasn't done in California.
Right.
It hasn't been done in Massachusetts because we had a workaround, and this got around the Uber and Lyft agreement got around the workaround. And now here we are, strange new world. And they're guessing. The policy people are just guessing.
I mean, the $175 million that Uber had to pay, that's Uber, Instacart, DoorDash, Lyft, Grubhub, Uber Eats. They all together put in $208 million in California to fight Prop 22, and they're having to pay Massachusetts $170.
Yeah, for nothing.
Right, for like past things.
Right,
and you guys were wrongfully titling people. Well, okay, they're still going to be wrongfully titled, so here forward they won't be fined.
I don't know what they're going to do in the future, because
aren't they just continuing with the same? I mean, even though they've got this new strategy of $32.50 an active hour and this, that, and the other, aren't they still going to be able to still sue you and say, well,
if they give every driver the exact benefit menu that's in the agreement, then apparently they can, in the state's eyes, I'm saying apparently because I haven't seen anything about this, apparently then that won't be an infraction. There will be in compliance is the term they'll use. But the unions are actively looking to add more benefits to the menu now. What happens to the newest benefits? Like alternate Wednesdays. Everybody gets off. They can go down to City Hall. They'll make up something that everybody supposedly needs. And is that automatically opted in, or does Uber and Lyft have a lost the train of thought? Do they have an opt out on the new benefits not yet in the agreement, not yet written down in the summer agreement of 2024? Unknown, not addressed.
I mean, but it kind of is. I mean, look at New York City. I mean, New York City, there's no work left for anybody. People, I mean, there's always been question on how they're, it's tough. We got to hustle out here. Well, that's part of it. You got to hustle. But when they took all that away, now even the food space, the rideshare space, they've got everybody scheduling blocks, and now there's no blocks to go around. So what happens to these part-timers who need 1 day a week? They're not even going to be able to schedule a block.
No, and they can't work for friends because the friends won't be able to afford the risk either. Like if you were a mom, been in marketing, would you set up a little firm that hired people as independent contractors, let's say to do, event host management or, party planning? I mean, you'd be crazy to add 3 people for a big event. One of them turns you in and you'll go right out of business and have to sell your house.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. I just don't see a win anywhere. And in fact, knowing Uber, I just don't think their fight is done.
No.
For a minute, I kind of thought it was until that stupid AG, and excuse my language there, but until she stuck her neck out there again and was like, you know what? Okay, we've made the deal now. Now let me jump on the side of these people and say that they can have what they can have their cake and eat it too.
Right. I have no idea what was in her mind. But
I think she's just playing everybody's angle. Like I see right through those people. I would think other people do too. I don't know. You can't have her saying, well, she made this deal with the corporation, but she's gonna back this, which totally goes against her deal. It's like, who is this woman?
Exactly.
You guys got her elected somehow. I don't know how.
Oh,
but there seems to be a lot of elected officials in this country that need to go.
We can talk about Massachusetts politics further. It was a walk in the park. Let's see. I'm going to put a link in the chat, Steve, to the Vloggy post.
Yes, guys, please. We got to get those rolling again, because once we get a couple rolling, then we keep saying, okay, we got another one, we got another 2, then we'll kind of get back on the pumping thing. But we really need those videos, audio files even. And maybe we're to that point. Maybe some people just would rather do audio. Do the audio. It's fine. Just say that you're an independent contractor. You can even just say the state you're in and that you'd like to remain one, and let it be at that. So
one thing we can push back on, Steve, that is that we don't want the benefits. We don't want, we just want cash.
Yeah.
And we're going to
work. We hear that every week.
Right.
From people. Yeah. We hear from everybody saying, dude, I don't need the state to give me fake benefits. And then a lot of people call them fake benefits.
Right. And the nice thing about pushing back on benefits is the benefits won't push back. You're not anti anybody. You're anti the benefits imposed on you by the system and by the agreements. And that's really important. And so you just tell your legislators, say it in your video, I don't want benefits to come with my my contract.
Right. Or I can handle my own benefits. Thank you.
I'll handle my own benefits. So, but it's a very interesting competitive position, is to be able to compete with something that won't push back.
Yep. Real quick, let's say hi to the people here in the chat, and obviously to the audio podcast. Those of you not listening to the audio podcast too, by the way, if you're watching this, make sure you check it out. You can find it on Spotify too. Be My Own Boss podcast. But hi, Ivanaska, how are you? Hello to Chicago. Traveler, hi to Syracuse. Mad Cat, how you doing? Rick, how are you? Kevin Hawthorne, Kevin's in Southern Florida. And we got Bud Soda here from the upper state of New York. I think is pretty much as north as you can go. He's way up there. So,
well, there's Maine up above him and a little bit of Montana too. So, but hi, Bud Soda.
Well, as far as New York goes, he's pretty up there.
Oh, definitely up there.
So, but yeah, guys, if you haven't made a video, I know that, some of you that I just dropped that on have not. If you could at least do audio, Mike put the link down there. It's just as simple as clicking it. I think with the Vloggy one, there might be like a checkbox, or you just add your email is all you're adding, but that's it. There's no multiple steps. There's no verification. There's nothing that's going to tie your hands or make you feel like this is too much work. And if in any way it helps, and it does, then please do make these. So But Soda says that there is he says I'm in Rome, and they have a
Force 2 tornado recently. How about that?
Huh. That's pretty rare for upstate New York, isn't it?
Yes, very rare.
The times they are changing, people, but we got to stop that from happening, at least in this space, because you hear me laughing a little bit, but I'm laughing because of the ridiculousness of this. I mean, the fact that it's taken them since 2019, and I've been in touch with Dana, who's a YouTuber as well, for years. We've been talking about this pre-pandemic, and they've been trying to shove this down your throat, and now all of a sudden here it comes, and it's just done.
Yep.
It's just like this horribly packaged deal, like that's like duct taped shut because they couldn't make a deal, and they're just like kicking it through the door, and they're like, "Here it is." There, sorry about that. Got lost in the mail.
That's the blue state rollout of these anti-independent contractor laws.
Sponsored by duct tape.
Sponsored by duct tape.
Because I mean, honestly, all jokes aside, I mean, it probably does take duct tape because these things can't stand on their own. I don't know. Just opinion, obviously, but my opinion is even the models they look at didn't work. I don't know what they're looking at here.
We can come back the benefits. Remember benefits, Steve. We can come back and talk about how benefits are actually a major part of their strategy, and they're not a part of our side's strategy at all. They're a detriment. So, but we're crunching away on our limit here.
Yeah, no. So with that said, when this does that, I think we should do one on benefits. I also think we should do one on unions, like an educational piece almost on unions and their place in America too. Because
they have a place.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. But I think that a lot of people hear us say anti-union, but it's not really like that. Maybe everybody just needs to understand. So
nope, there are competitive unions are a wonderful thing. My grandfather and his 7 siblings formed a union of musicians in Cleveland back in the 1920s, and they did it because they were non-union musicians were giving regular musicians a bad name. The weddings music wasn't right. They didn't show up. They were sloppy. And my family, who are all professional musicians, says we've got to get some standards going so that the buyers can be assured they're going to get a professional musician.
Mm-hmm.
There was competition, and so they did that. But now what's happened is that unions they're not about the worker and the quality of work at all. They're about
and I was going to back that part.
Right.
And I think that's the taste in most people's mouths is that unions are not about quality work anymore.
Right.
But that doesn't have to be the case. But anyway, with that said, we got 2 parts left. What is next next week's? And then we bring it all around for the final one. But so you guys, we're almost out of the woods. But
you always ask a question I'm not prepared for. It's
maybe I have it here.
I'm sure we do. It's but we'll let you know.
Here it is. Unfixable law.
Yes, unfixable.
And then the 6th part, since we're this close, we'll just tell you guys, is with voice and your friends. Simple steps to defend your freedom will be part 7 too. So next week is about choose to be your own boss and the unfixable law. And then it finally winds around with part 6. So Mike, what else do we got for the week? Is that it?
That's perfect for today. And I'm very grateful to everybody that watches now and later on.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of circulation, and we really appreciate it. So
yeah, it's big time. And make sure you guys that you're subscribed to the Be My Own Boss channel, whether you're watching on whichever channel when it's live. Realize that after the fact, you will go over there, and I will make a community post as well that points you in the right direction. So Excellent. Until next week, everybody be good, earn smart, and be safe out there. And we'll see you back here next week.
Thanks, everybody.